Hello, this is Jim Pellegrino, your host for the hour, and welcome to the second segment of the show. Our guest is Commissioner, Department of Administrative Services, Don DeFranzo. Don?
Nice to see you, Jim.
It's nice to see you, although it's been 20 years.
That's right.
When you were mayor of New Britain and I was mayor of Meriden. It's been a long time.
Time flies.
In the meantime, you had 4 terms as state senator, a couple terms, 4 years in the mayor of New Britain, and now you are the Commissioner, Department of Administrative Services, having just been named by the governor not all that long ago, a couple months or so.
January, yeah.
So Lord knows there's a lot to do, but before we talk about some of the major issues, give us a brief overview of what it is that the Department of Administrative Services does.
Okay. The Department of first of all, thank you for having me on the show, and nice seeing you again after
Welcome.
all these years. I had great regard for you when you were down in Meriden, and
Thank you.
look forward to having a nice discussion today. We had the Department of Administrative Services is a central administrative agency of the state government, and so our customers are other state agencies primarily. So we do all the purchasing for the state, we run fleet operations for the state, all the hiring of recruitment and hiring of employees comes through one agency. So all these services that can be centralized in one location.
It's almost like a corporate function.
It really is. And so we do very little directly with the public other than some of the recruitment activities. But most of our work is done with other agencies. We also provide for a lot of the smaller agencies in state government, centralized financial services and centralized human resources. And we also do the collection services for the state of Connecticut. So all of the major collections of federal funds for DSS, various income support programs. The reimbursements are handled through our collections agency, which brings in about $1.2 billion a year.
Yeah.
So it's that kind of an agency. We do a lot of different things, and our customers are primarily other state agencies. And so very often the role of the agency is not well known to the general public.
So if you're doing the buying, that means you're doing the contracting.
That's right.
Have you been doing stuff in the area of contracting?
Right.
Don?
Yes. Yeah. I'm glad you bring that up. The governor has asked us to try and make our processes a bit more simplified, more business friendly. We've heard a lot about competitiveness in the state of Connecticut and the need to make Connecticut more competitive, to make our processes more business friendly. So we've engaged in a process. We convened shortly after I got there. We brought together some focus groups. We brought in some of our customers. In this case, our customers are the bidders, people who bid to get contracts. And we brought in some of the business associations, CBIA, and some of the heads of our units that deal in this area. And we hashed out over a couple-day process what improvements we could make. And they fell into 4 areas: customer service, what we could do policy-wise, what we could do statutorily, and what we can do technologically. So we've come up with a plan to make improvements in these areas. The primary 2 pieces are some statutory changes which will alleviate much of the paperwork burden that now is required when bidders come in now. Following the Rowland scandals, we attached a lot of ethics-related documentation, and it was all good for good purpose. But we required on every bid that comes in. So for every bid that comes in, there's 6 or 7 affidavits and certifications that have to be filed each time. And then when you sign the contract at the end of the process, they're there again. So this is a huge paperwork burden on the
classic reaction formation.
Right. And so now we're trying to move the pendulum back
the other side.
Right. And so we're going to essentially set up a registry and require those certifications once a year rather than with and we'll be able to access it electronically, verify the status of the various bidders. They're required to notify us if it changes, obviously, but that's one area. The other is in our technological approach to things. It's hard to believe that we do not have a system of online bidding in the state of Connecticut.
I believe it.
Yeah. So when a bid comes in now, we get the 2-inch package of paper material. Our people have to sort it through and make sure all the compliance issues are met. So by September, we will go to an online bidding process. This will have enormous benefits, not only for the company's bidding, but in terms of state employee productivity. it's going to be a huge improvement for us.
Good. Glad to hear that. Not only efficiency, but effectiveness as well.
Yeah,
It makes
I
a
think
big
so.
difference.
It should.
So, Don, what we have, I mean, you're one of the governor's point people. So
Right.
what we have is we've got a $3+ billion deficit that we're going to try to overcome.
Right.
Per year in the next 2 years. And reading the background information when he appointed you, he represented that you were going to have a critical role in the reshaping of government, and said some very nice things about your background. And you responded by talking about things like downsizing government, cutting state spending, restructuring, et cetera. So what role are you playing right now, and how are we doing?
Well, you know, we have a process that depends heavily on legislative approvals.
Right.
So the governor has several major reorganization plans pending before the legislature, pretty much embodied in one major bill, Senate Bill 1010, which encompasses most of his proposals. I've been asked to work on the consolidation of 3 major state agencies: the Department of Public Works, the Department of Information and Technology, and my own agency, DAS. And there are also a couple of other smaller agencies involved in that, but the 3 large ones are DAS, Public Works, and Information and Technology. And so, well, why do these 3 go together?
Yeah, where's the synergy there?
The synergy is in that all 3 of those agencies have major procurement functions. DoIT, Information Technology, procures all the information and technology services and equipment for the
Right.
state of Connecticut. Huge expenditures in that area. Public Works does all the construction contracts, leasing, so the procurement function is there. And as I said earlier, DAS does all the procurements of goods and services for executive branch agencies. So a major function of this, a major theory behind this, if we can bring the procurement functions together, preserve the expertise we need, but bring the procurement functions together, we will decrease the number of staffing we need. We'll be able to achieve certain economies of scale, and through the merger of these functions, probably lead to a more streamlined system.
Okay, so this isn't just a matter then, Don, of moving the blocks around. In other words, you got 3 agencies, and assuming that you've got 3 you have 2 commissioners and an executive director probably of IS, right? So when you get done with the merger, ostensibly, you're going to have a commissioner, and you're going to have people under them, but you're going to merge the functions, not just move the boxes all together.
Let me tell you exactly the way it'll work, okay?
Please.
So these 3 agencies are primarily going to be folded into one, with one important exception. In the analysis, the one part that didn't fit in very cleanly was construction services, which is a part of Public Works. So the governor has proposed creating, out of this, a Department of Construction Services, which will pick up, in addition to our state construction projects, our state universities and state buildings, we'll also pick up the role of school construction, which is now in the Department of Education. That'll move over. And all the code enforcement that's now housed in the Department of Public Safety will move over into this agency. But I want to get back to your question, because I think what's underlying your question is how are we eliminating some of the political positions.
Not too much detail, but just overview.
But briefly. So there are 11 political positions in these 3 agencies. When we're finished, there'll be 4.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so they're reducing the 11 to 4. The ones that are being impacted by this reorganization, we're moving from 11 to 4. So, I mean, that does not include all the positions that are out there, but the net effect will be a reduction of 7 political positions in this scenario.
Okay, good.
If it's implemented by the legislature.
There was this commission called Commission on Enhancing Agency Outcomes, and they represented, Don, the article that I read, that its proposals would save $229 million in fiscal year 2011, and between the next 2 years, another $248 million. Are you buying on to that, or?
Well, this is a legislative committee which identified a number of savings. That may be an aggressive number.
That's very aggressive. That's a very aggressive number.
I think they are on to something with respect to the to some of the items they've identified, but that is a big number.